Okay, welcome to this panel to be inspired to be on your mission. Okay, I think we all have missions in life. Our missions can change, and lots of different things are our missions. But I think when we are driven and inspired by what we feel we should be doing, and something that may even have a higher purpose, then I think it makes us a lot stronger, a lot more confident, and a lot more effective in what we do, and it gives us a lot more passion for what we're doing. And that's where, that's why I decided this is where I'm going, because I really feel that it's a bracha, that I have found something that I feel is not just I'm going to a job, and I've done plenty of that going to a job, Baruch Hashem, I had that. And I guess that was my mission at the time. But here I feel that this is something much greater, working with the crystals. And I thank Hashem all the time that I'm working in this area. And it's brought out in me a lot of different things because I'm working in an area that's that I'm so passionate about. Anyway, I'm going to start off, and we're going to invite Justine to tell us a bit about her story. Okay, and not only her story, but to give us actual tips as well, because I think most of us here are over 40, and Justine specializes in helping women who are over 40 to be more healthy, to eat more healthily, and of course, as a side benefit, or maybe as a more than a side benefit, to shed a few pounds as well. So Justine, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gila, and thank you for inviting me to speak on your wonderful panel. I've been following you for a while, and I too have an absolute love and passion for crystals. So every time you put an amethyst out there, for me, that just touches my heart and soul. So I'd like to share tonight with you a bit about my journey, of what brought me to where I am today, and how I have felt that weaved in with the story that I'm going to give to you tonight of where I'm coming from, how that's led me to really find that the work that I'm doing is not about only being a dietitian. So my real roots with my own relationship with food and my body started at the age of 13, which was quite a good many years ago. And at that age, I was completely naive, and I had no real relationship between what my body represented, other than it was my body. I danced ballet, I played tennis. My body was my ability to be able to do the things that I loved. And in my first year of high school, which in South Africa is the equivalent of grade 8, we were in gym class. And for whatever reason, the gym teacher lined all of the girls and boys up. I was at a co-ed non-Jewish school. And she weighed us and took our height one after one. And I don't think there was any malicious intent behind it. I'm speaking about the year now, 1989. So that's what they did. And I got on the scale, and the number that stared back at me said 48. And it meant very little to me. I had no measuring stick for that. And my friend stood on the scale after me, and I looked at her number, and it said 47. And my world collapsed. Because for the first time, I associated myself with a number, and for the first time felt that I was less than somebody else because of how much I weighed. And I can cry for that little girl inside of me, because if I knew then what I knew now, and the journey that I've come along all of these years, I would have managed things so much better. In fact, I don't even think I really realized at the time quite the impact that it had. But when I reflect back on it, I realize that equating myself with the number on the scale, which was not a bad number, made me feel less than, made me feel that if I wanted to be better, accepted, loved, that it meant weighing less. And it began me on a journey of trying diets. And of course, the first one I ever went on in South Africa, we had way less. I don't know if you have that anywhere else in the world, but we were told to eat however many carbs and proteins and fats and vegetables and what was free vegetables and what was not free vegetables and however much to weigh. And I really remember taking an apple and putting it on the little scale that we were given. And it was meant to weigh 80 grams. And the apple that I had weighed 120. So there I stood, cutting some of the apple off and adding some back because I couldn't quite get it the first time round to weigh 80 grams, okay? Alavai today, I ever weigh my food. Anyway, this was for me a very strange and difficult dynamic to deal with. And it caused me over my teenage years to develop a love-hate relationship with food, with my body, and with the scale. And I would try desperately to go onto a diet, maybe do it for a little bit, but then obviously it was too restrictive, I felt too deprived, and I would then overeat and start binging as a result of it. And this was my whole teenage years, feeling very uncomfortable in my body, wanting to be something that I wasn't, and ending up which is always the irony of the situation, was that my mother, who is on the call tonight, and I'm sure she's heard me tell this story before, suggested maybe you should study to be a dietitian, not because I think she wanted me to manage my weight, but she thought it was a good profession for a girl to go into. So I studied to be a dietitian. And in the process of studying, it definitely did help me come to terms a little bit more with how I managed my weight. But nowhere in the course that we studied was anything given to us about how to manage the emotional component with food. So it was about calories in and calories out. And if you have an energy deficit, then you should lose weight. So naturally, when I started practicing as a dietitian, I would work in exactly the same way. I'd look at how much my patients were eating, look at whatever their medical requirements were, and give them a meal plan that was 1,200 calories, 1,400 calories, 1,600, 1,800, depending on what their requirements were. And there were some people who did really well, and there were those who never did. And I started, together with evolving my work in helping other people, I started realizing that I needed the tools and the skills for myself to be able to understand how I could help my own emotional eating and my own fractious relationship with food in order to be able to guide people better, but also, so importantly, for me to finally make peace in my relationship with food and my body. So fast forward quite a number of years now. I've been practicing as a dietitian now for almost 23 years. And I would say that it really only in the last 10 years did I finally find a way that felt it had more deeper meaning, that not only was it more important and relevant in my own life, but for the lives of the people and especially the woman that I was helping. So 10 years ago, I came on a trip to Israel. I now live in Israel. And at the time, it was the second time I'd ever come to Israel. I never came as a teenager, and I grew up in a very traditional family. And I had gone through a very challenging time in my life. My husband had lost his company, his business at the end of 2010. And it caused so much of emotional turmoil and emotional eating, and it brought up a whole lot of things again. But when I came to Israel, for the first time, I really felt connected to my Jewish roots. And I clearly remember sitting in our first lecture of the tour. It was with Lori Palatnik. If any of you have heard of her, she does the JWRP women's tours. And I sat with a friend of mine who was the one, in fact, who encouraged me to come on the trip. And from the time Lori started speaking, I was in tears. And my friend looked at me and was like, oh, she's starting already. Like we're not even 10 minutes into the trip and she's already crying. But there was so much about what she said that rang true for me. And I realized that if I was going to be able to fulfill my mission in this world, I was going to need to learn to trust myself with food, and trust in my relationship with Hashem. And so began the last 10 years of an involvement of me looking deeper for meaning in the work that I do, in how I live my own life when it comes to food and eating, and how I guide specifically the women that I work with in order to be able to encourage them to have a better relationship with food and their body. The fact that this is happening tonight in the month of Shvat, to me, is the most perfect and harmonious, no coincidence, because what I have learned in the last 10 years is that the energy of the month of Shvat is all about rectifying and elevating our eating habits. And that, for me, when I can find a deeper meaning to eating in general, that there is a holy and a spiritual component to eating any food that we put into our mouths, it makes the whole process of relationshiping with food completely different. So how does this change the dynamic? How can this reframe how we think and feel about food? And I'm going to give you an exercise that I find incredibly powerful, that I feel that you can all benefit from. And that really is my gift to you tonight, for you to be able to start to relate to food in a way that is on a very different level, as opposed to categorizing food as good or bad, as food that either we eat on a diet or off a diet. In fact, in my world, the word diet, even though it's made up of the first 4 letters of my professional title, I try to erase, because I find that the subliminal message that we have to the word diet in the first 3 letters of that word, which is die, is something that we naturally oppose, something that we naturally resist in our lives. So it is, for me, this exercise that I'm going to share with you now, which completely shifts the need to feel that you have to be on a diet or off a diet, that you have to feel the need to control or restrict or deprive yourself when it comes to food. Food is meant for us to enjoy. It should be a pleasurable experience. Hashem created food and created us with taste buds so that we would eat and enjoy the food. But there's a very big difference to taking pleasure from food when we are using it for emotional, in an emotional situation, in order to numb or soothe difficult emotions, versus being in pleasure with food, where we are really allowing ourselves to enjoy what food represents, which is nourishment, which is connection between us and other people when we sit down to eat a meal, as well as our ability to elevate the food that we are eating and our neshamas at the same time. So how do we go about doing this? The first thing is to recognize that food has both a nutrients in it as well as a neshama component. And the nutrients of the food nourish our body, and the neshama of the food nourishes our soul. So when we sit down to eat a meal, and it makes no difference what it is, whether it's a chocolate bar, whether it's a bowl of soup, whether it's a pasta dish, you name it. If you are able to take that food, put it on a plate in front of you and look at it, say to yourselves, what color is it? What does it smell like? What could it potentially taste like? What shape is it? Pause. Those of you who make brachot before you eat, this is a wonderful time to make a bracha with absolute kavanah, because when you make that bracha, you are saying, I recognize that this food is coming to me from Hashem. And then we eat. And when we've made a bracha on the food, hopefully not in a rushed way, which we can do sometimes, and we taste the food and we can say to ourselves, is this salty? Is it sweet? What is the texture? Is it smooth? Is it lumpy? Is it bumpy? Is it, what is that all about? Chew it, feel it in your mouth, swallow it, enjoy that feeling as it goes down into your stomach and gives you nourishment and satisfaction. As you continue to eat in this way, when you're eating with a higher level, with a more rectified and more refined approach to food, you find that you enjoy the food so much more, and you eat a little bit more slowly, and you allow yourself to honor your body and the food and stop when you've had enough. Again, this can be done regardless of whether it is with a pastry, whether it's with a donut, whether it's with a full meal in front of you, to really be able to mindfully enjoy the food and the nourishment that you are getting. And when you are finished eating that meal, to thank yourself for honoring the food and honoring your body as well. This is an act of mindful eating. And there is so much more else that I want to share with you tonight. But I really believe that when we are able to recognize that food plays more than just nutrients in or out, or defined as good or bad, that food is something to be enjoyed, but it's all about how we go about eating it, then our whole relationship with food changes. And I want to give each of you a bracha tonight, that wherever you are in your food journey, or your journey with how you feel about your body, whether you're wanting to shed a few kilos or not, that you really start to feel that you can make peace with any dynamic that you have, any negative association that you have with food, and elevate it specifically in this month of Shvat, so that you are gaining not only the nutrients from the food, but nourishment for your neshamas as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that in general, we're all going to have lots of nourishment for our neshamot here. It's amazing. Thank you very much, Justine. And is there something, let me ask, I'm going to indulge here, if there is something that you could recommend or suggest to women that are a little bit older that's going to help them, if they're trying to lose some weight? Even though that's not your specific thing, it's our relationship.
Absolutely, but I think everybody always has that question at the back of their mind. So one of the most important things to understand, especially as a woman over 40, is that when your hormones are changing, in general, your body becomes a lot more insulin resistant. I don't know if you're all familiar with that term. Basically, what it means is our bodies find it a lot harder to process sugars that we eat. This does not mean that you cannot enjoy a slice of cake or a chocolate bar or anything like that. What it does mean is that the way that you go about eating a meal, in order to give your body the best way of absorbing the sugars or glucose from that food in a much slower, more gentle way, is where possible. This is the advice from biochemists and scientific, that if you can start with a small salad, some green vegetables, some other vegetables, if you can layer first your stomach with some salad or vegetables first, and then eat your protein, whether it's chicken or meat or fish or dairy or eggs or whatever it happens to be, or if you're vegetarian, like things like tofu and legumes, then a little bit of the fat with that, and then lastly, whatever the carbohydrate is at your meal, whether it's pasta or rice or potatoes or bread or whatever it happens to be, when you do it in that order, you flatten your blood sugar level curve, which tends to go up a lot higher when you eat your breads first in your meal, or your pasta first, or your potatoes first. And when you reverse the order of how you're eating, basically what happens is you flatten the blood sugar curve. And when you do that, you reduce the amount of insulin that your body needs, which means that you're starting to reverse some of the insulin resistance. And because insulin is so incredibly responsible for storing everything in our body, when we have a little bit less of it in circulation, then you can slowly start to get rid of the excess weight that you may be storing. So that, for me, is one of the most incredible tools to be able to use. And I invite you all to try it out. There's some meals that it's not possible to do that. On Shabbat, we have grape juice first, and then we have challah. It's like everything in the opposite order that I've just told you. But if you can try and implement this, more often than not, you will feel that your energy will be better. After a meal, you won't feel so flat. Maybe your cravings will start slowly subsiding, because when we're eating a lot of carbohydrate all the time, we think we need quick bursts of energy like that with carbohydrates. And in fact, that is what then causes more cravings. So if you can slowly reverse the order of which you're eating your foods in, where it's possible, you will feel a lot of benefit from that. So that's a big trick of my trade.
Wonderful. Thank you. That is really great. I think, sure, why not have the rice at the end of the meal? Fantastic. Thank you very much, Justine. And we'll come back to Justine at the end, which isn't so far away, because we, try to keep this very streamlined. Okay. And she will tell us about her special offer. But I want to tell you, I'm going to start with tell you about my crystal journey a little bit. But for those of you who don't know, Gila Slonim, I'm actually a social worker. And for many years, I was actually working in academic planning. I worked at a university for a very long time, and I worked in fundraising at the university. It was not a positive environment for me. And that's, I was not happy. There's something called hashgacha pratit. And when it knocks on the door, we could ignore it or we could see it. So it probably knocked on my door many times. But there was this course being held about Avnei Choshen, about crystals, as an X-ray to your inner being. It's like, I don't know a thing about this, but it sounds so interesting. And not only that, it was like at a time that I decided, if this is making me miserable, then I am actually going to start to study. So what I did was something very bold for myself. I'm working with the president of the organization, like right up there. Wednesday mornings, I'm absent from work because I am studying group therapy. Okay. And I loved it. So that was step one. Step two was when I saw this course come about the Avnei Choshen and crystals, I said, I'm going to go for it. And the blessing there was the course was taking place in the evenings, and it was right next door to where I was working. So, I mean, a short way away, it wasn't a big deal. So I could just stay at work a little bit later, which was never a problem, and then go to my course. So that was amazing, and it was hashgacha pratit, and I just started studying, and it was good for my neshama. I was so happy with it, and whatever I could do, I was like talking about stones, etc. And I remember one night I got into bed, and it was 11:15. Now that was really early. That was not really early, but for me it was early. And it's like, do you know, I could be doing something else now. So I jumped out of bed again and got onto my computer and started doing some work with the crystals. Okay, checking out this crystal and understanding more, etc., etc. Anyway, at whatever stage, my husband turned to me and he said, Gila, you need to be working in this. I have never seen you so passionate about something as you are about the crystals. Now, those of you who know me know that I can be passionate about things. And believe me, when people came to visit the university, they thought that it was the love of my life, really. I would take them around and I would show them, and they would, you know, tell them about all the different research here and this. And I really could tell you all about different brain research and who knows what. But the crystals, that was something else. So eventually after, it was like interesting, like it was like a whole sort of series of things. And it was like, I guess I didn't get the message that it's time to go. And so then, you know, the message came stronger. I think it was like, I don't even know what it was. My nephew's getting married and it's like, I want to go. They're not allowing me to go. And he was getting married in America, whatever it is. This is like, it's enough of this. It's enough of them ruling my life. And I need to be doing what I love doing and go back to working in therapy, working with people, etc. And that was that. And then I left. Okay. And I began this world of crystals. Don't ask me. I had no idea what I was doing. And slowly, obviously, you know, with thanks to Hashem, I learned more and more, and I kept on studying, and I keep on studying. You know, it sort of never stops. And because I love it, the more I learn, the more I study about it, the more it, you know, gives to me. And I love sharing this, but I feel that it's not just something, you know, I love what I do. I feel that crystals, stones, minerals, call them whatever you like, it's all the same name, is something very kadosh, okay? Because they were in the Choshen. And this was something that Hashem gave us. And one of the things that I discussed with a group of students last week, I think, was in the Hilchot Rambam. The Rambam talks about that we need to be appreciating. One of the foundations of our belief is to appreciate what Hashem gives us, appreciate nature, understand it. So it was like, yes, I need to be sharing this more and more about the crystals. So I feel it's like for me, it's like a shlichut, something, a path that I'm on that I need and I want to share with people, because as I share it with people and as people see what can be done with the crystals, then their belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu increases, because you see what this creation, the incredible, how incredulous this creation from Hashem is. I'll give you an example, okay? I met this woman online. Now, she's sitting in America, so I meet my people. My best way of working, I have to say, I have come to the conclusion that I love meeting people online. I love seeing people. I love being with people. I love people. But for the crystals and for what I'm doing, working online is as good as working face-to-face. And it just means that everything is so much more accessible to me today. Anyway, I met her online, this woman, and I said to her, I said, is there anything specific that you're coming to me for? So she said, no, I just, you know, I've been following you. I've been interested in what you're doing. And she said, it just seems so interesting. And, you know, I've always been interested in crystals. And there's something very kadosh, and this is a learned woman, you know, she teaches as well, various Jewish things, which I don't want anybody to know who she is, obviously. Anyway, so I'm doing this assessment, and afterwards, I said some things to her. I asked her questions. Now, I realized today that when I was working on somebody else, that what to me is very obvious and clear, like when I say to somebody, I'm wondering if you're going through an emotional storm now. Now, I can see they're going through an emotional storm. I don't really need to ask the question. It's very clear to me. But sometimes they don't realize that they're going through it. And it's like, as a matter of fact, I am, you know. And then she started to explain that she had issues in her marriage at the moment. And I could also see that there was something amiss in her childhood. Something just didn't work there. That this was a child that didn't really have strong roots. And all of these things we understand only through the crystals, okay? Because when a person chooses a particular crystal, it gives me information about them, because each of the crystals have a particular meaning. So as she chose her crystals, I understood that there was something there with her husband that wasn't working so well. I understood that her childhood was not so crash hot. I said, it seems to me like you sort of survived your childhood? She said, yes, exactly. And there were just like so many things. And she said to me, Gila, she was totally blown away by what I could understand, what it revealed to her. And sometimes when we're trying not to really acknowledge what's going on for us, we try and push it away and we deny it. And that sometimes it's okay and it's a good mechanism. But I could also see that when things are stored within, very often we have things stored within us, things from our past, things from present, you know, emotional stuff that goes on for us. It's not always the right time to deal with it. When we're coping with loads and loads of different things, we can't always cope with something else. So what do? We place it in our emotional storage, okay? And when things are placed in our emotional storage, they can be there a bit, but if we don't deal with them, then they build up and they affect us in different ways. And very often, if we're not dealing with our issues, it's going to affect our health in all sorts of different ways. It affects the way we talk to people, all sorts of different things. So, you know, when she received her crystal, you know, I sent out and I continued the assessment and I gave her lots of details, and she sort of said, wow, I could just feel as I received these crystals, I felt their energy. It's unbelievable. Now, not everybody's going to feel the energy in the way that she did, but it's Marabu Ma'asecha Hashem. How great are the wonders of Hashem. Hashem has given us an incredible tool, and I call the crystals Trufot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem's medications, okay? And Hashem has really given us something very, very precious, and I want to share with people. That's why when I was recently in Australia and I was asked to speak somewhere on Shavuot, first time in I don't know how many years that I've been out of Israel for one of the Shlosh Regalim, for one of those festivals, because we had a bar mitzvah. My husband really wanted me to go. So if I was already there, I said, okay, if they're asking me to speak, then it's like a shlichut, and I can share with people about the Avnei HaChoshen, about the crystals, about this incredible gift that Hashem has given us. Okay, so that's like part of my story that I want to share with you. So, of course, I always like to share with you different things about crystals. And one of the things I want, when something really excites you and presses those buttons for you and you love doing it, and you could jump out of bed at 11:15 at night and say, oh, I've got some time to do a little bit more about this. Understand that this is something that talks to you and it's something that maybe you should be doing more with. Okay, I think we have to recognize that, or hope that, you know, I'm very lucky that I have a Baruch Hashem, a wonderful husband who sees things sometimes a bit more clearly than I do. And so he definitely, and he's supportive of what I do, so he pushed me in the right direction. So I'm much blessed. But sometimes we need clarity on these things. So we want to reach inside of ourselves and understand a little bit better what's going on for us, and understand how we can really seek out what it is for us. But I do want you to think about what it is during your lifetime or during the past 10 years, because things change, okay? Things definitely change for us. Think something that has really pressed a button for you, that really is like, oh my gosh, I've loved doing this. This has given me an incredible amount of pleasure. So whether it's writing for some people, whether it's teaching, whatever it may be, whether it's creating jewelry, whether it's drawing, or whether it's a combination of all of these things, don't push it away, okay? And if it's for you, it's actually not going to go away so easily. That's the thing. These things that we are here to share, they don't go away from us so easily. You know, we might say, not now, not now, but there's this hankering feeling all the time that I need to be doing this more. So be alert and let's try and hear what's talking to us. Now, I chose some crystals that I haven't spoken about before, and I don't often speak about it. I want to, Ray, you're somewhere there. I don't know how to spotlight. No, this does not. I don't know who you're seeing.
What are you trying to do, Gila?
I want to spotlight myself so that I can show this better. So if you know how to do that, that's wonderful.
Let me see if I can work it out.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Otherwise, you can give us some instructions. You're
The 3 dots next to your Hollywood Square. Should be 3 dots where you mute yourself. You should be able to spotlight there.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, thank you. If you can see this stone, it has different lines in it. Okay, if you know the tiger's eye, this is from the tiger's eye family. This stone is called a hawk's eye. Okay, and this hawk eye is very good. First of all, it's going to help us bring out internal tranquility. Okay, so in order to find ourselves on who we really are, where we're going and what we want to be doing, I think we need a certain amount of calm from within ourselves. I think that that's very important to us. Okay, so let's bring out that tranquility. And this also helps to hawk eye. First of all, the shimmer, it's like a tiger's eye, but it's in a blue and black tone. And the shimmer in that, it helps us to sort of have a look at things from a different perspective, because sometimes we sort of need to move out of ourselves a little bit to see a different perspective and to say, that's going on for me. I know that I, for myself, was so deeply entrenched in what I was doing. And I was doing very demanding work, and I was very giving. And there was so many, yeah, we can zoom out. And there was so many, I could do this. Okay, and there were so many things that were going on that I didn't have time, I was on survival mode. And so the hawk's eye has this ability to give us pleasant views, give us a certain tranquility, and look at things from a bit of a different and broader perspective. Okay, so that was really, really wonderful. So, okay, so that is just something very special with the hawk eye. Okay, and it also improves our understanding of the way in which the world actually works. I want to move on to another stone now, okay, called the sodalite. The sodalite, okay, as you may, actually, I think you've got a nice view here of this sodalite. It's blue, it's got some white stripes in it. Okay, so first of all, I tell my students all know this, sodalite has a Hebrew word hidden in it. The word is sod. Secret. So first of all, it indicates to me that somebody has a secret stored inside. Okay, so that's one little thing that but the other thing that the sodalite does, it brings up things very clearly for us, our true thoughts. Okay, it helps us really understand, helps us to, I'm trying to get us to a deeper level of understanding to really see what's going on for us. Not just, as I was continuing in my daily routine, just managing my work and my family and, maybe communal obligations and whatever else I was doing. So this is going to help us with our self-understanding. And it's also going to do something which is really amazing, to clear some old images from our subconscious, because I think that very often we think of ourselves in a particular way, and that is stuck there. We have this picture in our mind. This is me, this is how I function, and this is what I'm doing. And this is going to help to clear those images for us. So that I thought will also be lovely. Another stone, wow, this is a beautiful stone. Can you see that shimmer in this stone? Okay, this is going to be a necklace shortly. Okay, I bought it because I loved it. And I said, this is necklace material. And now that I've pulled it out again, it's like, I've got to do that. Anyway, this is called a labradorite. Can you see those fabulous colors in this stone? Can you see it? Give me a thumbs up, a nod, a yes, anything. Great, great. Okay, I want you to. So first of all, what it's going to do is going to help us calm our minds. Very often, we have very active minds. I know that very often my mind is thinking at 100 miles an hour. So this is going to help us just to calm all of those thoughts down, which is very helpful, okay? And it's going to help us with that introspection again and help us understand more deeply. And it's also going to help us to understand what really was the intention behind my thoughts or the actions that I took, okay? It is also a spiritual stone. So it gives us support and it gives us strength when we need it. But and it's good for self-confidence as well. So for anything we do, I believe, but self-confidence is something really important. The main self-confidence stone that I like to give people or talk about is the rose quartz. But this is another self-confidence stone. But I must tell you something very important about the labradorite. It's a very strong stone. So it's not a stone that you would like to be using if you're having a down day. So when you're feeling a little bit melancholy or not quite as strong, this is not the stone for you to take. Okay, so that's important. Okay, I didn't take out, I'm sorry, the shell. You've all seen shells, but this is a particular shell. It's like an orangish color. Okay, and the shell is a stone that helps us. Just think about it. Where does a shell come from? It comes from the water. And what's the sound of the water? You've got the waves and the rushing, there's a word for it. Rishrush shel hamayim, however you say that in English. Okay, that sound, you know. Okay, that sound of the water is very calming. You know, people watch the waves. So when you think of a shell, you think of that, and it's going to give you the calm to go a little bit deeper and see where you're going and where you want to be. Okay, it's also gives you insight into which decisions to make, and that might be very, very helpful, people. Okay, and it gives us clarity when we're trying to go through some sort of a mental process. It's a stone that's going to give us clarity. Okay, I have to go back to regular view. Justine, help me out. Thank you. Okay, there are so many more stones, but the other thing I just have to say, because if any of you ever send me WhatsApp, you'll see that my tagline is Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, and I honestly believe that we need to be b'simcha to be able to work. You know, we know that we have to worship Hashem with simcha, and sometimes when I'm feeling down, then that's what I'm going to start doing. You're singing Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, and this is called a pyrite, and it goes with that. This is happiness stone, okay? This is a stone of happiness, the pyrite. I know that the South Africans call it fool's gold, and it's probably called that elsewhere, but that's where I hear it most often. Okay, and this stone is just, it's a happiness stone. And for us to move to the next level, it's important to be b'simcha, okay? I also do this song. I do this with my grandchildren. We say a parak of Tehillim, and we do Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, and they sing and they dance and they love it, so much so that my little 4-year-old had to teach it to all of his kindergarten. So for me, simcha is right up there. It goes, you need simcha, and you happiness, and you need self-confidence, and those are very important ingredients to move anywhere. And even in dieting, you know, like there's a set of crystals that people talk about for dieting. I'm not big into that, okay? But there is a set of crystals that people talk about for dieting, and I've certainly made sure that the rose quartz is there with it, because in order to diet, to watch your weight, to do these things, you've got to feel good about yourself. In order to go dating people, to go out and to start a relationship, you've got to feel good about yourself. Okay, now, to move on to your mission, you've got to do that as well. So I think I could talk and talk and talk. So could Justine. So that's part of my passion for the crystals, and I could go on and on and on. But I want Justine, please share with us, okay, what you'd like to offer these lovely ladies that have joined us tonight. Please, what your special offer is.
With pleasure. So part of the work that I do one-to-one consultations with clients. But I also have a 12-week program called the Wellness Upgrade. And next week is the first week, the start of the next round of enrollment. So I'm not sure whether I need to quote in dollars or in shekels, but we can always do a conversion. So I've got a special offer, which just for the people on the call, for those on Gilles panel. So the normal cost of the basic package for the 12-week program is $927, but I'm offering it to Gilles panel at $797. And then there's a VIP package, which is just a little bit more hand-holding than the group program. And instead of $1,327, $1,327, that is $1,197. So that's a discount for everybody on both of those options. I'm happy to jump on a discovery call with anybody if you want to hear a little bit more about it. I can also share information, the link in the chat if you want to go on and have a look at a little bit more about the program. And the cart is actually closing on Thursday night. Thank you, Martine. But I'm happy to keep it open until Motzei Shabbos for everyone on Gila's panel. So if that is something that speaks to you, the program itself very much is holistic. It has body, mind, and soul to it. For me, the most important thing that I want anybody to come out of this program with is to feel confident about the food choices that they are making, to feel that they are specifically reducing a lot of the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. And if you're experiencing any of those in postmenopause with stubborn weight that's not coming off, as well as to break the dieting mindset and the dieting cycle. So more than anything, to come away healing or beginning to heal your relationship with food and your body, because there is so much joy to be had in life. And I feel that as women, we get so stuck in our back and forth with our relationship with food that it really does deplete so much simcha from our day-to-day life. So for me, my mission, my purpose is really empowering and supporting women to be able to have a better relationship. And I invite you all with this offer. If this is something that resonates with you, I'll give you more details about it, to be in touch with me and to join the group if it's right for you.
Terrific. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Justine. And I'll put all that in an email, in a follow-up email, so you'll get all the details. Okay, I want to remind you, whoever would like, I'm running a webinar on Sunday night. It's a free webinar. I don't know, I got into this thing that I'm doing lots of things for free. So enjoy. It's called Connecting the Dots. What does that mean? There are 12 different tribes, the 12 Shvatim. Each Shevet has a stone. And I want to understand why each particular Shevet has the stone that they have. Why is Reuven the Odem or the ruby? So I want to share that with you. Okay, I found it fascinating, and I found it like just something so special to be able to understand it. Okay, I'm also offering you something very amazing, okay, which is 10% off for anybody who signs up for my course. Okay, and the course starts, I'll send you the details, but I think it's starting in March. It's supposed to start in February. I had to put it off. I have to travel. Baruch Hashem, good things, shlichut, etc. So the course is going to be starting in March, and you can sign up by, I'll give you till Motzei Shabbat. I was going to say Friday, but Justine said Motzei Shabbat, so we're going to make it Motzei Shabbat. Okay, and Motzei Shabbat means I give you all the way till Sunday morning, because I have to allow the people from the West Coast. So that means take it to Sunday morning in Israel, okay? Or Saturday night in the West Coast. B'kitzur, 10% off. Just click sign up, and then I'll give you the 10% back. It's the easiest way to do it, but don't miss out on this offer, because it's not going to come back, because it's a very good offer, okay? I'm very mindful, as you know, of not charging too much, different things. And so I try to make my packages as reasonable as I can. So there's not much shaving to do. And I want to remind you that if anybody is interested in an assessment, you can click online. I've got my kosher crystal assessment packages, and you're welcome. You click there and it all comes up for you. You can, the calendar's there, the Zoom, everything is there, and then you just get to see me online, and we get to do an amazing assessment. So ladies, it has been wonderful seeing you, wonderful having you with us tonight, and thank you for joining us. Justine, thank you so much. I certainly feel that I've got some food for thought, so to speak, and some great tips for my food. And litraot, everybody, if you want to drop me a line and make comments, love to hear from everybody. Okay, good night. Have a wonderful day, evening, whatever. Okay, see you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.